like to look at the different ways some of my favorite programming languages handle the way we interact with standard input. So to begin with, we have PHP. There's nothing new over here. So essentially, I have created a simple program for all these languages. What it does, it accepts input from the user from the command line, and then it checks if the input from the user is it a prime number. If it is a prime number or not, we echo back the result to a user. Therefore, with PHP, we have a function here. This function will be responsible for checking whether a number is a prime number or not, and then how to read input from the command line. In PHP, we make use of the read line function. So we grab the input and then we call our function. We perform casting, though I am not sure. So you guys do tell me. I do know that PHP does have implicit casting, so we're gonna try. Like it does like perform automatic casting, but I'm not so sure. Then we have a simple array that maps our boolean to actually the literal boolean values, and lastly, this is how we echo the result to our user. So let's give it a try. Let's run this. Let us learn. How do I clear the command line in Linux? Okay, fine. PHP alright, start with 2, fine, 4, 6, 11, what about a random number like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7, 7, 6? What about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8? Okay, what about 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1? Alright, so far so good. How many ones can I go? How about this? Oh, how many ones is enough? What? Guys, so like, you guys going to give it a try and tell me like how many ones can you type before this program terminates? Before like we reach the memory limit. Oh, it works. Yay, PHP. So let's try. What if we do not perform a cast, an explicit cast, and then run it again? Right as before. 2, fine. 24, that's even, okay. 45, that's divisible by 5. What about 100? 109. What about 1? Alright, fails. For some reason, like if you have a very long numeric string, it doesn't work. So the error implies that the argument must be of type int and the string was given. So you guys do tell me like, how was it possible for small numeric string values PHP could actually perform a cast? At least that's what I'm sure of. But then like when you have very large numbers, it fails until you perform an explicit cast. I would like to hear from you guys. Alright, moving on. So I will leave this for comparison. Let us clear our console. Okay, moving on to another favorite language of mine, Dart. So Dart is a compiled language, and as with all compiled languages, the entry point for any Dart program is the main function. Therefore, in Dart, the standard input can be listened to as a stream. Think of a stream as like a source of data that gives data back, but in small chunks. Now these small chunks could be affected by different things. For example, if you are reading let's say data or a file, let's say from the network, then like you could be receiving data in some intervals and then you have to wait. For example, the different chunks being sent to you could come at different times because of the the network environment. Anyways, so the standard input in that is a stream. We transform our stream, that's what these two runs do, and then we change our stream into a broadcast stream. This is the only way in order for us to be able to listen to this stream multiple times. If we do eliminate this line, as I am gonna do right now, if I do eliminate this line and then I do run this program, we'll only be able to listen once for user input, and then the program will terminate. So another thing, like a stream does have like a listener. A listener is the function that is called whenever the stream will be giving up data. In this case, our stream is the standard input and the data will be the value that the user types on the command line. And then so far everything else is the same. So that, as with other of my languages that I am familiar, that's perform string interpolation. PHP does too. Let's give it a try to perform string interpolation. I don't know since which version of PHP did allow us to perform string interpolation, but I know we can perform string interpolation. So let's run this one more time. PHP okay, two much better. 19, yeah, no error. Yeah, so PHP also does perform string interpolation. I don't know which version of PHP, but I am using PHP 8, so we can actually do string interpolation. So this is a bit much more cleaner. It's the same as here. This is also string interpolation in that. So same thing as always, we echo back what the user has we echo back the result to the user. And then the is prime function, I think you can compare the two. They are mostly the same. The difference, the one is it's a typed language and the other isn't, but everything is the same here. So let's give our let's run our that program, shall we? That, in order to run a that program, we simply use that run, which will compile the that script and then automatically run it for you. So it will compile and then run the executable. So that run prime dot that. So maybe say 2. Oh, all right. What about 23? Okay, it would appear using the broadcast stream. The 3. All right, so in this case we are told the input actually exceeds the limit of an integer. This is in that. So guys, can you tell me, like so far num is like an abstract class, which means this function can also accept doubles and floats, so instead it should be an int. But so guys, like I would love to know is there a way? What about int64? Okay, is there a way to modify a function so that it can accept more than very large numbers of integers, because like I've provided a large number and it won't work. One more thing, I have no idea, but it would appear the the broadcast stream in this case doesn't make sense, because when you compile and run, I am listening to the stream multiple times, but it would appear it's okay. All right, so moving on, let's move on to C++. Now there are different ways of going about in C, and like in the future I would love to explore other ways in which we can interact with the standard input, or how we can manipulate the standard input. But as of now, I will leave that and C++ as a comparison. So the two functions are almost the same. Basically, if I were to take the that function and then run it as if I were to take this portion of that code and then just run it in a C++ environment, it would actually make sense. So like I do have an idea, like, are you guys interested in, like, can you like write a file, that is possible to run in different environments? Like, say the file could be Python, so you could run it using it could be executed by a Python interpreter. The same file could be PHP, perhaps maybe the same file could be Ruby, or maybe say the file could be Dart, as in this case, or maybe the file could be C++. So the same file, but the code could be Dart, the code could be C++, maybe the code could be C. So like, is it possible to be able to write a file that can be executed in different programming environments? Anyway, so nothing new is prime functions. The only difference is, in this case, in C++, we're using the size t type. So now this is a modification to that, because in that, if you do remember, if we provided a considerable large value, formal command line, the function would fail. In this case, it won't, because size t represents the largest representation of an integer for that platform. It's an alias for, as you can see, it's an alias for unsigned, meaning like it's always positive. Long, so long is the largest possible representation of a number in a platform. So far so good, nothing changes here. On to our main function. Alright, so C++ does perform implicit conversions. For example, so we create a variable known as text, but it's also of type size t, and just as in PHP, we have an infinite loop here, where like this is the extraction operator. So we're extracting from the standard input and putting into a value of type size t. So like, if a user let's say passes a string that cannot be passed into a number, this will raise an error. Otherwise, we print back to the standard input. So C out is the standard output in C++. This is what we call the insertion operator. So we are inserting into the standard output. Essentially, we are printing. So basically, this line here is the same as this line here. They are basically the same. So we are echoing back the result to the user. So let's give it a try. G++ prime.c++. I think we made a mistake here. We have to specify the output, the output, the executable. If there are no errors, fine, no errors. Alright, 2. Alright, 2 is a prime number. 1 meaning true. What about 2? fine. 1 2 3 4 5 6. What about 5 6 7? What about 1? This is in PHP. Oh Jesus, we have a problem. I have no idea, guys. I have no idea. Yep, so it would appear, let's try again. It would seem, so 3 3 3 3. Okay, 3 3 3 3 3 3 3 3 3 3 3 3 3. Yep, so like there is a limit as to which this happens. Now I have no idea how to solve this. For once, it would seem our program is continuously printing, but our program should not continuously print. It should wait for user input. So how is it possible? How is it possible that it's continuously printing? Can I do this? So let us eliminate the. So I've eliminated the while loop. If there will be no error, what I would love to do is, like, I would like to check if I provide the same input minus the infinite loop, and what would happen. So let's compile again. Yeah, no problems. Then let's run. So if I do 3 to this point here, oh, I have no idea, but it would imply that we are going beyond the limit of size t. Anyways, guys, I love to check this. I'm also open to you guys. What do you think? Like, this is the problem. All right. So we have seen PHP, we have seen Dart, we have seen C++. We will look at JavaScript and maybe Golang. I'm not that fluent in Golang, but I'll finish this up with Python. So we'll leave the Dart function here, the Dart program, for reference. As for Python, I will import sys source of access to the standard input to create the its prime function. It should be int if the weird thing in Python that the Boolean values must be capitalized. Alright, so the best thing about Python when it comes to looping, now let us use C++ for reference. Now I do believe there is a best way of, like, looping instead of using the traditional for loop, though, like, I find like there is no problem, but I would love to see from you guys, like, what other looping in C++ like you would use, like if you made use of the iterators from the standard library. Anyways, back to Python. So in this case, I will simply use the for in. Now with the range function, so I am starting from 2 all the way up to the prime number, but not including the prime number. We'll be incrementing by 1, and then simply if any number divides our prime, if any number divides x, obviously x is not a prime number. Otherwise Otherwise, should we finish looping and x doesn't divide all of those numbers, then it will simply imply that it is a prime number. Simple. All right, on to our main function. Just as in C++, we'll create an infinite loop here. However, just as I said, the Boolean types have to be capitalized in Python. Sometimes, like, I tend to confuse that. There are two ways to read from the standard input, but I prefer this would be an interesting way to look at it. So from sys, we can actually access the standard input. Then we can use read. So this will read everything that the user has typed. We call it, let's say, number. Having read from the user, we are going to echo the result back. So we use print, we use a format string, and then we simply say that number, the number that the user has typed. So essentially, just like in the previous programs, I'm doing the same thing. Then we can call this prime here. Now Python doesn't have implicit conversion or implicit casting from one type to another. So instead I have to perform explicit casting here. So in this case I'll use the int factory and then I'll pass in the number. This should be fine, and this is our function. So let's run prime.python. I'm in Linux, my apologies. Python. Okay, Python prime.py. Come on, I don't have Python here. Python. Alright, we do not have Python. What about Python 3? Okay, Python 3, okay, fine. Python 3, let us clear the console. Python 3 prime.py. Okay. Oh, we can't use read, can we? Okay, so this will read everything. So read. What about if I use read line instead? Will it work? Okay, fine. Read line does work. 2 is a prime number. 222. 222 is a prime number 4. So what about 1111111? So far PHP did work. So too is Python. So what about then 9, then 2, then 3, then 7, something like that? Okay, this is actually taking time. I guess, guys, next time we're gonna finish up with JavaScript and Golang, and then we look at ways to make this prime function much more efficient, because right now to find the prime number of very large numbers, as you can see, is not that efficient. I also welcome your suggestions. Leave your suggestion down below in the comments, like what's the best way to optimize or make or the best another best approach to make our prime function efficient. So Python is stuck, by the way. Before I go, I do have a work idea. Is it possible, because like file objects in Python are iterable, like they do implement the the iterator interface in Python. So what if I were to use the read like this? Would this make sense? Why? Oh, okay. Just for okay. Will it work if I say 2? But what if I were to do this? And then will it work? Oh, it does work. Yeah, this would make sense because like in Python the file objects are iterable, and therefore, all right. So guys, to conclude, please do let me know which programming language so far actually has the best way of interacting with the standard input.